you're on your knees and you're out of resources and you're just praying to the universe, even that is part of the sacredness. Even that is an expression of non-duality.
Hallo en welkom bij deze aflevering van InZicht in non-dualiteit. De podcast van het magazine InZicht met verdiepende gesprekken over non-dualiteit. Mijn naam is Klaas-Aart Kok en vandaag hebben we een hele speciale gast, helemaal vanuit Londen, maar dan wel online, namelijk Jeff Foster. Jeff heeft sinds 2006 al vele boeken geschreven over het onderwerp non-dualiteit. En zijn belangrijkste thema daarbij is de onvoorwaardelijke acceptatie van alles wat is. En dan heeft hij zelf een hele grote uitdaging op dat vlak gekregen een paar jaar geleden toen hij een heftig geval van de ziekte van Lyme kreeg. En hij is ook een tijdje van het toneel verdwenen en kon geen retreats doen en dergelijke. Maar gelukkig is hij voldoende hersteld en is hij weer terug bij ons ook nu om een podcast op te nemen. Welcome back, Jeff.
Welcome back. Have I been here before?
Well, no,
have we met before? Is this? Oh my God, I don't know. Maybe
it's a déjà vu.
Deja vu. It's always deja vu, really. I guess you said something about me. Jeff is an international something, and I was like, am I international?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm just a guy sitting on a yellow sofa.
That's true. Yeah, so I'm just a guy sitting on a wooden chair over here. Nothing special.
And we've both got our little plants. We've got
it's like we just like we made an agreement. Like let's put in a plant, a couch.
You've got the bookshelf, which you get extra points for the bookshelf.
That shows that I'm really learned, and
it shows that you're really knowledgeable. That shows that you're the expert, and I don't have any of the books, so I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I do have a plant, and the plant knows everything, I think. Sorry, I ruined your introduction.
There you go, no problem. Yeah, well, I really love the fact that you run with it. I have to explain, because I did an introduction and I said, well, you've been off the stage for a while and now you're back. Luckily.
I've been where?
Off the stage for a little bit.
Stage.
Yes. Just not doing any retreats anymore, maybe being
Well, it's great being off the stage, because when you're off the stage, no one's staring at you. They're not waiting for wise words. They're not waiting for answers. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing to be off the stage. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And of course, I have to congratulate you on becoming a father to your daughter, Gwendolyn, right?
How did you know that? Yes.
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, Facebook says everything, you know.
Have you been stalking me?
Of course,
researching me for the podcast. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, she's really a miracle. She's 4 months old now, and especially after everything that happened to me a few years ago with the illness, I'm blown away with gratitude. I mean, me and Alice are just so incredibly grateful for this blessing, really. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
it's quite something.
Well, we had some contact. You might not remember, but of course you have a lot of email, a lot of people coming by to ask you for a podcast. But we had some contact, and I asked you, what could we talk about? And you said, well, maybe about non-duality and changing dirty baby nappies. And I remember the quote of you, like you said, embrace the freshness of every moment. And I'm just wondering,
the freshness of every moment, except when there's a dirty nappy. Yeah. And I guess that's the ultimate paradox of non-duality. There's the freshness of every moment, and then there's the smell of the poo-poo. And how do we hold all of that? See, we just got to some deep wisdom there. through the dirty nappy, through the shit into the divine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't actually stalking me. I did actually tell you those things myself. Okay, I feel better now.
Did. Well, and also I did stalk you a little bit, but hey, that's all right, isn't it?
Well, at least you're honest. Most people don't admit to that. At least you admitted to the stalking. That's you get some points for being honest that you.
Thanks.
You stalked me.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering. We're talking about non-duality, of course, and
yes,
the thing I always ask the people who are in this podcast is, what's your definition or experience of non-duality?
You have to ask that.
That's an impossible question.
Jesus! I think for me, just personally, if we're using the word non-duality, it's for me, it's just a word. Yeah, it's a word. points back to the mystery of all things, you know, the mystery of life itself, the mystery of creation, you know, for me, it's not ultimately something that can be understood with the mind. I mean, it's beautiful as well, you know, trying to understand it and using concepts and, you know, non-duality is the blah, 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 blah. I mean, that we could, and you know, that could be fun as well. But I mean, if I'm speaking really truthfully, for me, it's a word that points back to something that can't be understood. It can't be conceptualized. It comes before language, even before the word non-duality. And that's actually why I don't use the word non-duality a lot anymore, just because, you know, it's almost like the moment we talk about non-duality, we make it into a thing. Let's talk about this thing called non-duality. Let's try and understand this thing called non-duality. And before you know it, we've made it into something, you know, and then we can pretend to be experts on this thing called non-duality. But the truth is that
we can grasp the thing.
We can grasp
finally
it, yeah.
ours. It has form.
Yeah. But the truth is that the honest answer to your question is I have no idea. I have no fucking idea.
I think that's the only answer, isn't it?
Yes. Was that the right answer?
Well, no, there's no
You
right
approve?
answer.
I think I got the approval of InZicht. I think, do I get the official seal of approval for the only correct answer to?
Of course not. There's no correct answer.
No, of course not. But that's you know, for me, it's, look, I used, many years ago, I used to believe that I was an expert on non-duality. I really, because I'd read all the books and, you know, I had so many ideas stuffed into my head about what non-duality is, and I thought I was an expert, thought I knew. And then life in its infinite wisdom smashed all of that up, all of that intellectual, conceptual understanding, and brought me back to a place of not knowing, of mystery. You know, what the mystery of, you know, a baby being born, like the mystery of, you know, holding my father's hand as he took his final breaths, like the mystery of the clouds in the sky, the mystery of the flowing river right here, the mystery of like the grass growing, or like what just a fly. You know, sometimes I watch my cat. We have a blind cat. She's very sweet, and she spends hours sometimes trying to catch a fly, and that's very difficult when you're a blind cat. It's probably hard enough for a seeing cat, but for a blind cat, it's even more difficult. You know, just the mystery of a fly, just a single ordinary fly. Like for me, the word non-duality, and we can use the word non-duality, we can use the word consciousness, awareness, being, life. I mean, at some point, you just kind of get bored of all the bloody words. And you just sink back into the mystery of it, and the not knowing, and the wonder, and you know, presence, just being present with all the ordinary moments of life, which for me, like, they're not ordinary at all. They're quite extraordinary. So for me, it's also a word that points back to seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, the wonder of existence, the mystery of life itself. But it's not something that you achieve through the mind. It's not a special state that you can attain. It's not something that some people have and other people don't. I think all of that's all the stuff I used to believe, by the way. Or maybe we can talk about that. Like when I thought I had all the answers. But it's such a relief. What I find, it's such a relief to not have any answers anymore.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, that was a very, very, very long way of saying I have no fucking idea.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Sure. Yeah, well, in Holland, everything's possible.
Oh, yeah, you can do anything in Holland.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, sure.
You can say anything. You can smoke anything. You
smoke
can
weed. Yeah, sure.
Wait, really?
Just maybe the conversation is going to be better. You never know.
Now that's where that would be an interesting podcast: smoking weed and talking about non-duality. I think that's the next. That's the next.
Next step.
That's the next step.
Podcasting. Yeah. Well, I listened to another podcast that was great. I Am podcast, where you explained that you went through different stages of being enlightened and being an enlightened person. But
well, I went through different stages of thinking.
thinking,
that I was
thinking
enlightened,
that you
and
were enlightened.
being convinced that I was the most enlightened person on the planet. Yeah, let's be clear about that.
And it became a new identity, and you had to just release this identity of being enlightened or being an unenlightened person versus people who weren't enlightened. So there's duality in that. I thought that was a great explanation of what can happen if you believe you're someone who is enlightened or someone who is no one.
That's someone who is no one. Yeah, because back then I used to think that non-duality was all about, I thought the goal was to like lose the self, to be free of the self, or free of the ego, or free of the mind, or that you had to be you had to lose the person, you had to lose the personal self, or lose the separate self. So I used to think that was the goal, was to be in a state where there was no separate self, there was no ego, there was no mind, there was no person anymore. And of course, look, it's a beautiful dream. I mean, what a beautiful dream that is, and of course we would dream that when we're suffering and stuck and we don't want to be in the present moment. Of course, oh my God, that's a beautiful idea. What? Imagine not being a person. Like, oh, imagine if I could lose the self. I mean, of course you're going to dream of that and try and get there. But at some point I just realized that my mind had even created that, like the dream of, no longer being a person. And then, and then of course, mentioning no names, but you go to some teachers and hang around some non-duality people, and they're very identified with this idea of, oh yes, I used to be a person, but I'm no longer a person.
Yeah.
I used to have a self, but no, my self completely disappeared on the 23rd of January, 1997. I used to have an ego, but that just, one day I was walking through the supermarket and my ego just disappeared forever, and it hasn't come back. It's beautiful. I mean, look, not to judge anybody, and everyone's on their own path, but just for me, it just got to the point where I just realized that's just all my mind creating all these narratives. And like you said, which I think is very true, it's just creating a new identity, a new spiritual identity of I am, I am not a person anymore. Myself has 100% vanished. Therefore, I'm better than you, and therefore I'm superior, and therefore I'm more enlightened and more spiritual. I mean, it's just the same old. It's the same old game, It's I have more money than you, or I'm more special, more enlightened, or I have. It gets more subtle, doesn't it? I have less of a self than you. I'm more absent. My person is more absent than your person. It's like, and it's just like,
it's the same game.
If that's non-duality, to be honest, I think I wrote an article about this once. If that's non-duality, I have no interest. If that's what we mean by non-duality, is just mind games and trying to prove how non-dual we are, I just have no interest. It's just silly. It's just but yeah, I also get it. I was really stuck in that for many years, and I felt very superior to everybody because I was so free of a self, and and what I couldn't see that was my new self. That was my new identity. I was identified as being someone who had no identity, and it was the huge identity. It was my ego that was saying I have no ego. It was my mind saying my mind disappeared last week. But it's, in hindsight, it's funny when we talk about it. We can kind of see the humor in that. But like, when you're stuck in that, as I'm sure it sounds like you've been through a similar thing. When you're stuck in it, it's deadly serious. It's deadly serious. You're fighting. It feels like you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
But
I must say, I can really relate to your story in the sense that I was born in 1980 as well.
We're the same age. Deja vu. This is real deja vu.
I was born in June.
July,
yeah. And I wanted to, because I stalked you a little bit, and I heard that you wanted to be a filmmaker. And that's,
wow, you really did some stalking. That's pretty advanced stalking. That must have been buried somewhere deep on the internet.
No, well, it was in a podcast. You shared this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I forgive you.
Yeah.
I'm like, so much. How the hell do you know this stuff about me? It's because I said it on a podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and you worked for the BBC, and I also wanted to be a filmmaker, and I studied journalism, worked for some TV programs as an editor and director, and journalist, as a reporter, a camera journalist as well.
Wow.
And I really felt what you were saying, like you at a certain moment you felt like this is not what I'm meant to do. This is not really me. This is not something that fits me really. And I felt the same thing, and I really thought also that the story I'm telling is not the real story. It's not my story. It was a really deep feeling also. And the other thing is that I went through a really horrible, well, it's not a divorce, but I was in love with a girl, deeply in love, and I lost myself in the relationship. It was a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So I lost myself in that, and you had pretty much the same experience.
Are you the Dutch version of me? That's spooky. Yeah, I had a very similar experience in my early 20s. Very similar thing. I was with this girl, and I just completely lost myself, and I thought she was going to save me. That's what I believed. And what I realized now is I was looking for enlightenment. I was looking for happiness. I was looking for all of that through a person. And then a few years later, the same dynamic was there, but it shifted to spiritual enlightenment. Well, if she's not going to save me, then bloody spiritual enlightenment better bloody save me. Otherwise, that's all my options,
Yeah.
But I think it's the same thing, it's the same seeking dynamic. It's like looking for, you can call it whatever you want, looking for wholeness, looking for love, looking for peace, looking for safety, looking for home. I think it's like looking for home. And we look for home in worldly success, or in love relationships, or in spiritual enlightenment. Maybe if I just keep going to these retreats and keep reading these spiritual books and keep praying and keep meditating, and again, nothing wrong with any of these activities. It's all done in total innocence, but at some point the question really hits you. Well, I can swear I can't. What the fuck am I looking for? Like, where is this headed? Where is this going? Like, where am I trying to get to? And it's, once that question really hits you, and as it did me, it was kind of shocking, because shit, I don't actually know what I'm looking for. I mean, I just know I have to keep looking. You get to that point where I don't quite know what I'm looking for, but I know that I have to keep looking, because I know that it can't be this. Like, I think that's what's underlying the whole thing, is because this present moment is not enough. There's a deep dissatisfaction with this present moment, with the way I am now. So I need to run, I need to chase, I need to seek. And chasing spiritual enlightenment, or chasing, like we talked about, maybe one day my ego will vanish, so we chase that. Or maybe one day, the separate self will fall away, so we chase that. Or maybe one day, well, this spiritual teacher had this incredible experience. They were walking through the park one day, and then all the suffering fell away and it never returned, blah, blah. It's like, well, I want that, but we're still chasing, seeking, or just seeking spiritual experiences. I mean, a lot of
exhuming.
I mean, a lot of spiritual seekers, bless them, and they're just seeking experiences. They're seeking the next high, basically. The next big experience, the next shift, the next insight, the next. And again, it's done in innocence, because it's scary. I think it's scary to stop doing that. That can be really scary. It's like, well, then, but if I stopped seeking, if I stopped chasing, if I stopped retreat after retreat after retreat, or whatever the addiction is, if I stop doing that, it's like, whoa, and who the hell, I'll stop saying fuck, who the hell would I be? Like, if I stopped chasing, seeking, well, then I would have to stop, and then I would have to be here. Then I would have to actually experience my present experience. I think Krishnamurti said something like that. It's like, why do we keep chasing? Why do we keep running? Because if we stopped, we'd have to face ourselves as we are, and that's scary. And that's like the last thing that we want to do.
The last big barrier on your way is self-love, self-acceptance. This is it. What I am right now is it. This world is it. It's not going to be an amazing exhuming landscape. I'm not going to be a radiant being, or a body made of light. It's just this right here.
I'm not going to be special. That's the kick. There's the rub. Oh, I think my camera just moved. I'll just
That's
push it back
okay.
with my foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to be special.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like I remember when that first hit me, there was a terrible sense of disappointment, like a terrible sense of, it's like, well, what you mean it's just this moment? What? No, it can't just be this moment. It's too ordinary. What you mean just sitting here breathing, you know, hearing the sound of the air conditioning and the feeling sensations in my body, and you know, my feet on the ground. No, this is almost nothing. This is nothing compared to what I was promised. The light show, and the fireworks, and the ecstatic this, and the 79th level of consciousness, and the astral planes, and all. Compared to all of that, this is shockingly boring,
Ordinary. Yeah.
ordinary. You know, so it can be a real shock, and I get why people don't want to just stop or have resistance to slowing down and stopping, because you kind of have to get through that barrier. It's a shock sometimes of how ordinary this is. And then there's that part of you that's like, no, it can't be this ordinary. It can't be. I remember that very strongly many years ago. It's like, no, my mind was really fighting this, because I think it wants to be, it wanted to be special.
And it wants to reach a goal.
And it wants to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It wants to succeed. It wants to reach a goal. But the thing about this, it's no goal.
It's letting go.
And it's not an achievement. It's not an attainment. It's not something that you can grab and say, I have it now. Look at me, everybody. Yeah. It's not, it doesn't make you special. It's almost the opposite of that. It's brings you to a place of deep humility and not knowing. You know, you don't get to be the expert. Of course, that can also happen, that the mind can, you know, mind, I think the mind is desperate to create a new identity. Just give me something. Give me something.
All right, well, like a bit of a paradox. I mean, you're someone who writes a lot of books, telling other people what you are experiencing, really.
Yeah. Well, it is a paradox, yeah. You know, and I've, you know, to be really honest, I've grappled with that paradox over the years. You know, I mean, you know, I've been very close to that question for many years. Why do I write about this? Like, why do I speak? You know, if it's really true that ultimately there's no experts on this, you know, if it's true that I'm really not special, then what gives me the right to, you know, to be Jeff Foster and be the, you know, to go around talking to people about, well, whatever we're calling this, non-duality, or you know, whatever, what, you know. So, you know, and it is somewhat paradoxical. You know, on one hand, there's nothing to get, there's nothing to teach. On the other hand, you know, there is this sometimes this enjoyment of just, you know, in a kind of a light-hearted way, and not holding too tightly to the language, but trying to convey a sense of it through language, through, you know, through poetry, sometimes through talks, through writing. You know, it's like knowing that ultimately it can't, and this is the paradox, knowing that ultimately it can't be captured in words or concepts, knowing that ultimately I don't know, it's not something that I have and others don't, but still, given all of that is true, still there's this, and I think that, you know, there's this just love of expression, and I also think that's part of it. Maybe. I also think, sorry,
maybe it's a creative force wanting to happen. Well,
yeah, it's just like, you know, when I was a kid, like you mentioned, you know, you stalked me. No, you didn't. No, sorry, you didn't stalk me. It's not technically, it's not stalking when I willingly share it in public. So yeah, I'll take that back. Sorry, this is my British sense of humor. I'm not sure if it goes down with Dutch people.
We are really direct as well, so no problem.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now I've completely forgot what I was talking about. Yes, the creativity, you know, and I think that same impulse that was in me when I was a child, that wanted to tell stories and make movies, and for me, but even back then, I remember very clearly, it was never about being famous or popular or being the best. It was there was some deep down, it was something to do with touching people. It was something to do with not fixing them or changing them, or but touching them on like a heart level. And I think that, I think maybe that's still what's coming through here. There's it's a strange thing, because I know that ultimately I can't change anybody. I don't want to fix anybody. I can't help anybody. Ultimately, I don't know what's best for anybody. I don't know what's best for the person in front of me. I don't know what's best for them. I can't really advise them. But I guess, there is just this sense of sharing, whatever comes out of this vessel, just sharing it, and like this, and in conversations, because it's all a conversation, really, And I think ultimately I'm always just talking to myself. Sharing this in conversations, and in writing, and in poetry, and in the events that I do, and maybe someone, hears that music. It's like music, and maybe someone's touched by it. Maybe they're moved by it. Maybe they
can dance on it.
They can dance with it. Yeah. Maybe they're inspired by it. Maybe they hate it. Maybe they listen to what I'm saying and think, what? He's so full of shit. Good. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's all right.
But it is just like music, because, a piece of music isn't to everybody's taste. And
doesn't really mean anything.
No. And like the same piece of music, one person could hear it and just feel nothing. It's meaningless. It's just noise. And that another person could hear it and it changes their life. I mean, I've had that experience many times over the years with a piece of music. It's moved me so deeply, but it's always a surprise. It's a surprise. You never know. And then maybe you listen to the same piece of music the following day or the following year, and you have a completely different response, and it doesn't even touch you. And that's a mystery. So I think I've learned over the years just to kind of let go, just send your words out into the world, send, it's obviously, it's not ultimately about the words. I guess it's the energy behind them. Send it out into the world, and some people will resonate, some people won't. But I never for one moment tell myself that I'm the teacher, or I'm the expert, or that I have it and they don't, or that I know and they don't. This is just music. It's, and anyway, can't even remember what we were talking about. I can't remember what the question was or what we were talking about, but
yeah,
it's all music.
It's probably becoming a bit boring for the people who are listening to this podcast. Not what you're saying, but I said in a couple of podcasts, I don't know why I'm making this podcast, really. I've got no clue, but it just happens. It just, it feels like it's flowing. It's happening. It's I put no pressure behind it. It's just working. It's just creative force wanting to establish something. Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful. It's like watching a bird build its nest. Why are you building your nest? Why are you building or it's watching, our 4-month-old daughter. She's just begun to be able to sit up, because, in the past she would just flop back on the bed, and suddenly overnight, like a miracle, she can sit up. And it's like, why are you sitting up now? Why?
Yeah,
it's just life. It's the movement.
There's no reason
of life. Why does the grass grow? I mean, look, we could become philosophers and we could talk for 20 hours about why the grass grows, and we could write books, and some people have, I guess, but I don't think we're talking on that level.
That's the endless game of the mind trying to explain everything.
One of my favorite ever interviews is actually, obviously, it's not a non-duality interview. It's an interview with Marlon Brando. It's considered to be, one of the greatest screen actors of all time, and it was when he was older, in his later years. And the interviewer, bless her, she asked him, I can't remember the exact words, but it was similar. It was like, why do you act? Or it was something like that. Why did you choose acting? Or why it was something, a deep question like that. And his response was, why did you just move your finger just then? It was something like that. I don't remember exactly, but and it kind of, you could see her mind just kind of stopped. And I think what he was trying to get to was just this mysterious flow of life. Why did you just, why did I just move my hand? I didn't have it's the mystery. It's the vast intelligence of life. How the hell did we end up doing this podcast for InZicht? what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, right.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can that be the title? Can that be the title?
What the fuck are we doing?
What the fuck are we both doing?
Yeah. Well, why not? Sure.
Why not?
Sure.
Well, that's it. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and lean into is, well, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not just keep sharing and asking these questions and having these conversations and exploring? And, if ultimately you could say, what's the point? Because it's all just, that's what some non-dual teachers say is like, what's the point doing anything? Because it's not going to get you anywhere. But then the reflection of that is, well, why not? Why not? Not even saying seeking is wrong. Not even saying seeking is, why not seek? Why not go to retreats and meditate and go to India and live on Mount wherever, Mount something for living. Why not? We're not saying that's wrong, or that everyone's deluded, or everyone's misguided, or everyone's so dumb. It's not saying that at all. Maybe that's part of it. That's part of the mystery. It's like, why do we feel called to do what we do? It's it just, for me, it just always comes back to the mystery. Watching a few months ago, watching my daughter being born. Where does she go? The mystery of life itself is right there. And then a few years ago, watching my dad sitting, I mentioned before, sitting at my dad's bedside, while he passed away, the mystery of what is this? What is this? Not like on an intellectual level,
no,
like on a heart level, on a, what is this? What is this? That final breath and that long exhale, and then the body, the total stillness, and like your mind just stops. There's no explanation. There's no, where did he come from? Where is he going? Even those questions just disappear into the silence, and it's just wonder. There's just these moments of absolute wonder. Absolute wonder.
I've experienced this as well with my mother. She passed away a couple of years ago, and I cared for her together with my father for the last couple of months of her life, and it was an amazing experience. Of course, it was heartbreaking to see her deteriorating and not being able to do some stuff anymore, not being able to walk, having to be changed, everything. It's heartbreaking, but also there was a mysterious, beautiful experience in some way, and it's inexplainable. It's amazing. And certainly the last couple of minutes and the moment that she passed away, that she's not there anymore. Her essence has gone.
Yeah,
and that's an amazing experience. It's also brings you together with your family, and because it's a shared experience and it's a shared love. So there's something really beautiful about really gut-wrenching experiences as well.
Yeah. And I think, especially after what's happened to me the past few years with the illness, I more than ever, more than ever, I truly believe that the divine, whatever word you want to use, the sacredness, the divinity, that the miracle of life itself, it's there even in those experiences, those moments of just the gut-wrenching pain and heartbreak. Like it feels like your heart has just been torn out of your chest, and the world, everything is just falling. Like those moments too are sacred. And I know it's not always easy to see that, and it can sound a bit glib. And what I'm not saying is, oh, you have to love those moments. It's not even that, because then the mind turns that into the new goal. Oh, I have to love moment. No, we're not even saying that. It's like, I remember, similar to you, I think it was maybe a year before my dad died, and he had Alzheimer's, and it was quite advanced, and he was forgetting how to do everything, forgetting how to dress himself. It was incredible. It's like watching my baby, but in reverse. Like with the baby, like one day she can't sit up and the next day suddenly she can. It's like a miracle. But with my dad, it was like that in reverse. So like one day he can dress himself and the next day he not only has he forgotten, but he has no memory of ever dressing himself. And then, you know, he couldn't shower, he couldn't wash himself anymore. And then one day he forgot how to have a bath. You know, it was quite incredible to see that process, like the mind deteriorating. In a way, I think he was like falling back into presence, you know, into not knowing, which, because I've been on this path for so many years, it wasn't so scary for me. It was okay. I think I know the place that he's falling into, this not knowing. And so one day he just totally forgot how to have a bath. And I was like, Dad, would you like a bath? He said, oh, Jeff, what's that? You know, and of course he had thousands and that my dad loved having his baths. I think it was the happiest I ever used to see him when he was having baths after work. Not that I watched my dad having baths a lot anyway, that's a Freudian thing. But I was like, Dad, would you like a bath? And he was, oh, Jeff, I'd love one. What do you do? And he was very much like a child. And for me, this is like the essence of non-duality. You know, again, we could philosophize about non-duality until we're blue in the face, but for me, this is where it really comes alive. You know, and so I ran Dad a bath, and just like a child, you know. And he was so innocent, and he was so excited. Took his clothes off, got in the bath, and I made sure he was okay, and I kind of walked out of the room, and I kind of peeked back in, and he was just like splashing around in the bath, just like a little child. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most heartbreaking things I'd ever seen in my life, and at the very same time, I was so full of wonder and gratitude and beauty. Like it was both. It was deeply paradoxical. So it kind of relates to what you were just saying. It was. And I'll never forget. I walked out, and I sat on the stairs, and I just wept. Just the total heartbreak of, like, it was like death and rebirth all in one. It's like my old dad was gone, but at the same time, the very same moment, there was this new, playful human being that I could begin to meet. I could begin to meet him. He's 83, 4 years old, and it was a beginning. And it was all of that all at once. And it was like, there was a deep grief and heartbreak, but at the same time, this deep gratitude and joy. And, you know, I felt so deeply alive. I felt so deeply alive in the midst of all of that. And I think that's also a testament to this path, if you want to call it a path, this pathless path of, like, you know, just learning over the years how to lean into those experiences, how to be with that much life inside of me, and not run away from it, and not numb it out, and not drink it away, and not take it out on anyone, but just to sit in the middle of the joy and the heartbreak, you know, that kind of beautiful, broken, open place. But to me, that's it. If we're talking about non-duality, then we're also talking about the paradox of non-duality as duality. You know, that it's not non-duality, and sometimes it's spoken about as being, it's not this cold, empty, heartless, lifeless awareness. You know, it's not this detached place. It's anyway, this is just how I would say this. It's full of life. You know, our vulnerable humanity is absolutely included. It includes the heartbreak, it includes the joy, the bliss, and the boredom of being human. So and I think sometimes that gets missed out in non-duality teachings, and you know, these days I'm very passionate about a radically all-inclusive non-duality. A non-duality that is again, it's such a paradox. It's such a paradox, but we love paradoxes. I think all the life is in the paradox. It's a non-duality that is one with duality, that embraces duality, that infuses duality, that holds duality, that is not at war with duality. It's not separate from the expression of duality. It's the ocean that is inseparable from its waves. And it doesn't even what it doesn't do is sit back and go, oh, well, that's not real. You know, because that's a little mind trick and I was so stuck in that for years. I was so stuck in that, and it was, you know, it's like an ocean without its waves. It's like, no, I'm in non-duality now. leave me alone, life. Don't touch me. I'm untouchable. You know, you kind of, that's a place that we can fall into, as we become, I'm the untouchable awareness. And again, you know, bless our hearts, but it's just another place to land. It's just another identity, you know, and then for me, even that fell away. And that's why I have to thank life for giving me these experiences, like bathing my dad, because it cracks you open even more deeply. No, it's not even that. It's not even pure awareness. It's not even that. It's more mysterious than even that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You've said, well, I have to thank life for all experiences, but you've had a really big challenge the last couple of years by having a really bad case of Lyme's disease.
Yeah.
Even affecting your brain.
Yeah.
And you were really open about your emotional struggles and pain and suffering. That's something not all teachers would do.
Well, yeah. It's funny because I've recently I looked back on some of the things that I wrote on Facebook when I was going through what I was going through, and I was like, Jesus, I wrote that, I shared that. Oh my God. But, you know, I think it just got to the point. It was like, fuck it, I have to be completely honest. If I have to have integrity around this, like I'm not hiding, I cannot hide this anymore. Yeah, I mean, I guess this was a couple of years ago now, and yeah, I mean, it was terrifying. It was neurological Lyme disease, and I think I'd had it a long time, and it just, the symptoms got extremely bad, and you know, I mean, I won't go into details because I've written a lot about it in public, but you know, probably, I think it was the most humbling experience of my life, you know, and it really, talk about, you know, life pushing you right to the edge. Oh my God. And yeah, I mean, I know I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know, there were moments, you know.
Is there something I remember that you once said that if there's suffering, there might be something that isn't allowed that causes the suffering beneath the suffering. Do you still think that's true, or?
Well, look, I mean, what my experience was, and it taught me so much, you know, because, you know, I was really struggling. There were days with all of the symptoms and like the neurological symptoms, the bodily symptoms, that they were just, you know, drained of energy. There were some days I barely had enough energy to walk downstairs. And for a long time we didn't know what it was, and I saw a few doctors. They just kind of gave up. You know, you know how it is with some of these conditions. Like, doctors have no clue, and so at some point, maybe this is just my life now. Maybe, you know, and I mean, thank goodness, eventually I was properly diagnosed with Lyme and could get the right treatment. But there were days, you know, in the midst of all those symptoms where it felt utterly unbearable. If I'm really just completely honest, it felt totally beyond my capacity to handle, to be present with. And you know, this did go through my mind. It's like, this is why it was so humbling, because Jesus Christ, I was meant to be the guy. I was meant to be the guy that could be present with anything. I've written these books like The Deepest Acceptance and Falling in Love with Where You Are, and you know, and I pure awareness, this and blah blah blah, you know, all these things. And there I was, and I think I wrote a piece, you know, on Facebook called "Will You Remind Me of My Own Teachings?" Will you? Because that's actually how it felt. It's like I can't. This is actually beyond my capacity, you know. And there were moments where, you know, and I can understand why this happened now. My mind was thinking, well, maybe it's time to, you know, just end things, you know. And that's just what the mind does when you do, you know. And it's the mind's solution. It's like, well, that's okay. That's an option. That's an option. And look, thank God. I thank God every day that I kept going. But yeah, you know, there were moments where I was on my knees. Literally, I was on my knees begging the universe for just like 1% relief from the symptoms. You know, and it was really humbling. It was humbling stuff. You know, and it's funny because there was this thought. It's like, Jeff, you should be doing better than this. You know that one?
Yeah, sure.
You know that one?
There's the ego going.
There's the ego, you know, and it's bless it. It's trying to help you, but it's also kind of violent and relentless. It's like, Jeff, you should be doing better than this. You've been on this path for 15, 20 years. You've written all these books. You're Jeff Foster. You know, you go around the world telling people to be present, and look at you. You can't you can't do it. But you see that, looking back now, I'm so grateful, because what it did, I was like, oh, at some point I realized, shit, even the resistance, even the non-acceptance, even the struggle, even that, you know, just you're on your knees and you're out of resources and you're just praying to the universe. Even that is part of the sacredness. Even that is an expression of non-duality. You know, I know that now deep in my bones. You know, I know deep in my bones now. I mean, I knew it before, but now I know it more deeply than ever, that if non-duality doesn't include and bless our vulnerable, fragile humanity, then it's, I don't think it's, I don't know what it is. It doesn't, then it's meaningless to me. If this, I mean, sorry,
has it deepened your experience? So
yeah,
like maybe
it really
you
has.
went more from a mental to a really deep experience.
Even, yeah, oh yeah, even more, just more deep than ever, really, you know. And just the level of gratitude I have for just being alive. I mean, I literally still wake up every single morning just grateful to have a day, grateful to be alive, because you know what, we so take it for granted, you know. And looking back, even the great Jeff Foster I was taking things for granted in my life, you know. And I think that's one of the blessings of illness, when you can come through to the other side. Sometimes if you can keep going, you know, you can break through into that place of just gratitude, like gratitude for being able to get out of bed in the morning. With these things we just take for granted, you know. And I know that there's many people on this planet now who can't get out of bed. They haven't got the strength, or the illness, or the, you know, it opened my heart even more deeply in compassion for just being human. Just, you know, being human sometimes is just it's a thing, you know. It's not always easy being human, and you know, we struggle and we suffer, and sometimes we fall to our knees, you know, and our hearts break. And somehow, you see, I used to believe many years ago that enlightenment, that if I was enlightened, then none of that would happen. And I realize now that's just fear. That's just fear speaking. It takes courage to be human, you know. And I mean, there's so many more things I could say, but yeah, I think it's really deep. It's really deepened my understanding of, again, not on a head level, but on a body level, on a heart level, of non-duality. It's radically inclusive, and it's you know, we're not talking about, circle back to what we were saying in the beginning, we're not talking about a special state where you don't feel fear anymore, or you never doubt ever again, or, you know, you're never gonna struggle to accept the moment ever again. You know, I think that may be one of the ideas that I had, that at some point, you know, you just reach this place where I live in total acceptance in every single moment. I'm just, you know, and even that is just another idea. This is a moment by moment teaching.
It's a repression of what really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
If the suffering is there, if the feeling that this shouldn't happen to me is there,
yeah,
total acceptance is the real is the way to totally be there with the thing that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I often think about Jesus. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. Although my mum says I look a bit like Jesus because of the hair.
You're growing the hair, yeah.
Well, I haven't washed my hair in 4 or 5 months now. I'm doing the no poo.
Oh, all right.
Called the no poo thing. It's where you just don't use shampoo ever again.
Don't use poo in your hair.
Back to poo, yeah. So this is a very, very spiritual conversation, but in a way it is, though. This is the thing. I no longer separate the material from the spiritual. It's all one thing for me.
Yeah.
You know, it really genuinely is. It's all one. People talk about being spiritual, or this is spiritual and this isn't, and that makes no sense to my heart. That split doesn't make any sense. Well, that joy is spiritual, but anger isn't. Where did that split happen? That you know, incense and yoga mats or whatever are spiritual, but dog shit or baby shit isn't. No, like it's all made of the same. It's all made of the same stuff. You know, the mountains and the rivers and the universe itself and the blades of grass and the flowers and my blind cat and this body, that body, and all the movements in the body and the energies and the sensations. If the heartbreak is itself an expression of that, it can't be separate from that. The doubt, how could that be separate from? So you know, and again, I'm not here to judge anyone, but you know, I heard spiritual teachers over the years say things like, well, if there's, you know, if you still have doubt, then you're not there yet. If you still have anger, then blah blah blah. Or if you still experience a flicker of fear, if you dare experience a flicker of fear, then that's a sign that you're not enlightened yet. I mean, again, I get it. It's a beautiful dream, but I think it's all an expression of fear. I think we're afraid to be fully alive, you know, and that's what I love Joseph Campbell, and that's what he always used to say.
Me too. Yeah, love
yeah. You see, we are. This deja vu. Yeah. He said one of my favorite things he said is we're not looking deep down. We're not looking for enlightenment or this or that. What I'm paraphrasing, deep down, what we're all actually looking for is a feeling of being fully alive. And like we've just said, you could have doubt and be fully alive in that doubt. You could be totally heartbroken, but if you lean into it, turn towards it, there is so much life in that experience. So I think we're talking about finding freedom and you know, finding love inside of each experience, even the most shaky, vulnerable, painful human experience. You know, even, you know, I think of, you know, bless me, you know, how many 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, on my knees, you know, on the grass, just, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. This is too much. I can't, these symptoms can't, you know, looking back, even that there was love, there, call it whatever you want. There was God, call it whatever you want. God, non-duality, presence, whatever you want, doesn't matter. It was right there. It was right there, even in that experience, you know. So this experience has very much deepened my, call it understanding or knowing, or call it whatever you want, of it's in everything. It's just in everything, and it's not something that someone has and someone doesn't, and it's not about being in a perfect state. It's about what is it about? I don't fucking know what it's about.
That's what it's just about.
That's what it's about. Yeah, it really, it's the not knowing. That's where it all circles back to, that not knowing, and the wonder, you know, and you know, just circling back just to my illness, you know, looking back, I can say that now. I couldn't say it whilst I was in it, but I can look back and I can say I'm grateful for having gone on that journey into the hell realms, you know, and so grateful for coming out of it on the other side. And I can say it now, somehow it was meant to happen in a way that I don't quite understand, you know. Somehow in the end I found the right treatment and the right people, but it has definitely, you know, deep, and also, just as I said, deepened my compassion for humanity and for anyone who is suffering and struggling. I less easily dismiss suffering now.
Great. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah,
I love that you placed the message like, remember me, please remember me, because that's the thing we're really doing all the time, remembering each other of what really is. Yeah. So
yeah, so yes, remember me. Yeah, I didn't finish my thought about.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I if you notice, I go off on all these tangents.
Yeah.
Like eventually I circle back, come back home. I often think about Jesus on it was the Jesus beard thing. Jesus on the cross, you know, in that moment where he's you know, in the midst of the most unimaginable, not just physical pain, but emotional pain, you know, on the crucifixion. It's not just the most intensely painful physical thing you can experience, also on an emotional level, on a psychological level, that sense of abandonment, that sense of loss, that sense of having to leave everybody he loves in the world, that sense of betrayal. It's pure abandonment on a psychological level, and on a physical level, just pure pain. And and in the midst of that experience, he cries out. He cries out. Do we know who he's crying out to? To God, to the heavens, to the mystery, to himself? Who knows? Who knows? But he cries out, why, Father, why have you forsaken me? Universe, where have you gone? Maybe he's talking to himself, like presence, awareness, consciousness, like my own wisdom. Where's it gone? I can't do this anymore, And I often think about that, because it's like, God, if like that's God himself cries out in pain sometimes. God himself sometimes, or herself. Even the divine sometimes has moments where I can't do this anymore. It's too much, and I think, God, if even God struggles sometimes, if even God forgets, yeah. So then, I get it now. I get what that story is maybe really pointing to. Even the forgetting is divine. Maybe Jesus had to forget. He had to fully experience that forgetting. He had to experience himself forgetting, and that abandonment, and crying out to the heavens, and that had to play itself out. That scream, I can't do that. It's too much. I can't be with this. Like this, God is not here, basically. That's what he's screaming. And then, of course, in the next moment, there's a remembering again. So, and then there's a relaxation back into his experience. And then he can pass peacefully, where he goes, nobody knows. Well, I mean, maybe on a non-dual level, we could say that there's a remembering of his true nature. But I love that story, because and maybe that's why that story touches so many people, and it has done for however many thousands of years, even if you're not religious. For me, it's a beautiful story of being a vulnerable human, and having moments where we forget. And then we have to be being kind to ourselves, that we have to allow ourselves to forget. And then, so when I think back about my illness, and again, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, but it's, but it's bless my heart, those moments where it was too much. I think God was there the whole time. And again, use the word God, or presence, or non-duality. I wasn't actually ever divided from it.
Where could it go?
Where could it go? But even the it was there, even in the forgetting, and that's beautiful. It's like there's not this pressure sometimes to be perfect. And then also the pressure, like when you're a bloody teacher, and that's why I think part of why I wanted to write that stuff on Facebook, just to smash that awful lie and that awful illusion that teachers somehow have it easy, and that they don't suffer, and that they're somehow beyond their humanity. I just wanted to smash that once and for all. It's like, and I also just wanted to be in integrity. And I also thought, like, if I ever, because back then I genuinely didn't know if I was going to survive. Genuinely didn't know if I was going to make it another few days, let alone weeks. That was way too far. So I remember thinking, I was like, if this is the last thing I ever fucking write, if this is the last thing I ever put out into the world before I go, let it be fucking honest. That's what the world deserves. That's what these people who have followed me for all these years, they deserve my raw, brutal, painful honesty.
That's probably total acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the paradox, isn't it? That's the irony, really. It was, and again, I wasn't trying to model blah blah blah. It was, I felt it just had to come out. So I'm surprised and grateful and shocked. I'm teaching again. I mean, back then I thought, well, even if I get better, even if there's a tiny chance that I get better, I won't be well enough to travel again or to teach. That was a million miles away.
Yeah. So
that, I mean, the fact that, this past year, I'm back, I'm able to teach again, able to talk to you today.
Right. That's amazing.
It's a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle, and I don't take any of it for granted. But one thing I'm glad that I kept going. I'm glad that I kept going even in the midst of the darkness, because the truth is, you never know. You never, ever, ever, ever fucking know what's on the other side. You never know. So I feel like I've come back into the world as not as a bloody teacher, not as an expert, it's so boring to be the expert and to be the I know I come back as whatever I am, a human being who I've had some experiences. I've been to hell and back a few times, and I've had some things to share that may inspire some people, touch some people, bore some people, anger some people, or maybe just give some people the courage just to keep going. Just one more day, one more step.
And is there something that reminds you of what you really are, or like you ask other people to remember you, but do you have any practices or things that you picked up on afterwards, or just being in the moment, or is there something?
Well, obviously I'm just in the moment. I'm just obviously in the moment 24 hours a day. It's my full-time job is just to, that was it. It's a joke, by the way. You thought I was serious.
Well, I'm totally accepting the fact that you're 24 hours in the...
That's a testament to how accepting you are. That was beautiful. That was very beautiful. You just accepted me for that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I mean, I don't have a formal practice these days. I don't have like a formal meditation practice. In some sense, I do feel, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but it is kind of true. I do kind of feel that my whole life is like a meditation. And by meditation, I'm not talking about some special practice or special technique or like visualizations. If I'm talking about meditation, what I really mean by that is it's just being present. It's just being with whatever arises. So in some sense, I do feel, especially since the illness, it's really deepened this as well. I do feel that just my ordinary day, just waking up in the morning, having a shower, putting on clothes, being with my partner, Alice, my baby, going shopping, just every conversation, having a walk by the river, like whatever I'm doing is a kind of meditation, just hearing the sounds and sensing the sensations. And I mean, there are things that I do. Like I love music. I love listening to music. Certain pieces of music can really just, it's not that it's almost like certain pieces of music are like meditation bells. They bring you back, they remind you of this sense of being alive. They remind you of presence itself. They remind you of the miracle. So certain pieces of music do it. Certain movies do it. I love movies. I love going to the theater. I'm doing my. Should I share this? I'm doing my first ever acting class this weekend.
Wow, I've done those as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, yeah,
but great. Yeah. So acting I think is really spiritual as well, because you're leaving.
Honestly believe it.
Who you are.
I really believe it. Yeah. My partner she's an actress and she's an acting teacher. So I have sat in on some of her classes. She does something called Act Without Acting. She'll be so proud of me. I just plugged her. I just did an advert. You see what a great partner I am. I haven't advertised my own shit. I've advertised her acting class. Isn't that amazing?
Maybe a website as well.
No, she doesn't. She has she has an Instagram, but it's called, what she does is Act Without Acting. She's almost teaching actors to stop acting, to stop faking it, to stop performing, and to slow down and to really be open and be vulnerable and be present. And that's really how we connected in a way. So in a way, she's doing the very same thing as I'm doing, but she's doing it, she's working with actors and helping them just be present and stop pretending to be sad and actually be sad. Stop pretending to be angry and actually find the anger within yourself. So in a way, I believe it's very much a spiritual practice.
Sounds a bit
I've seen amazing
method.
Yeah. I've seen amazing breakthroughs in actors that she's worked with, and very similar breakthroughs that happen on my retreats when people just, just kind of slow down and connect with their bodies and their breath and be present. you know, it takes some courage to go there. But yeah, some beautiful transformations happen. So yeah, so that really interests me. I mean, it always has. I love the art of acting, so I'm going to dive into that. You know, and that's also an exploration for me of, like, you know, presence. And so that, yeah, but I don't have a formal practice. I mean, I do lead meditations, you know, in my
talking
workshops.
about that, you're going to come to Belgium and the Netherlands for 2 retreats in October and November.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
So can you tell a little bit about what you're doing in
oh God,
those retreats, or are you just going with the moment, being there and feeling what wants to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've established that I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, look, with the events, you know, I just kind of show up. I never plan. You know, I don't have a speech that I recite. I don't, in some sense, this is why it's so paradoxical. I don't even really have a teaching. You know, a lot of teachers have a teaching, and they're very excited to, you know, I can't wait to give you this teaching, and you can hear the teaching. I really don't even have a teaching. So that's how I show up to events. I don't even have a teaching. I don't really know what I'm going to say, but you know, from a place of presence and stillness, sometimes words come, and you know, we do meditations, and I talk a bit about my experiences. I mean, just like this podcast, really, and you take questions and you know, just kind of inviting people really to slow down and to break that kind of addiction that we all have, because I think we're all addicts. I've never met a single human being who isn't an addict on some level, you know, seeking something. Just give me something. Just the next thing. Yeah. And so
I've experienced that it really helps to just break for a little while from your environment as well, just to break the patterns and just to be and just to follow the program. That's really nice as well. just to be there, be present, and just let it all happen.
To just surrender to the program, and you get your breakfast, and you have your lunch, and you have your dinner, and you have to be in the meeting room. So there's something quite relaxing in a way of about just, it's like it's a form of surrender in a way. It's true. I hadn't really thought about that, but it is, even that is just kind of a form of, even if your mind doesn't want to do it, even if your mind, I don't want to go to another meeting with Jeff. No, please. It's like, thank you, mind. We're going to sit there, you know. But just that in itself is actually a practice. I mean, that's a kind of meditation. Yeah. You know, to sit with, and this is what we explore in the meetings, you know, just, you know, for me, meditation, again, it's not about having the perfect experience or an experience of the light or love or bliss. All those things can happen, but it's really about just meeting what comes up. And if what arises in meditation is that voice, I don't want to be here, fuck meditation, oh God, this retreat is so fucking, oh Jeff, he's just blabbing, oh I just want to go home, why did I waste my money on the Jeff Foster retreat, oh my God, oh maybe I'll skip the next meeting and I'll go and have whatever. Sorry, I was just channeling.
That was great.
This is a great advert.
Great acting.
Yeah, I don't know what that voice was. This is a great advert for my retreat, really, isn't it? Yeah. But I mean, I'm making a serious point that voice is very, very, very welcome. That voice is that voice of resistance, of fear. That voice, that seeking voice, just anything but this, please. Just give me something else. That voice, even that voice is not an enemy. It's not a mistake. It's not a sign that you're so far away from enlightenment. That's more ideas. It's actually, maybe that's just a part of you that wants to sit with you. You know, it's a friend. And you don't have to give into it. You don't have to obey it. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be your master, but just to start to see it and to you know to welcome it, and then maybe it stays and maybe it goes, but it doesn't matter. So there's real freedom in this kind of meditation. I think there's real freedom and there's real permission, and that's where the deep relaxation can come, and the relief. It's like, oh my God, I don't have to be perfect. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, what a relief. I don't have to be spiritual. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be non-dual.
Yeah.
It's okay to be here. It's okay to be a mess. It's okay to be broken. And there's actually wholeness. The wholeness is actually right there in the brokenness. The non-duality is not far away. It's actually right there in the duality, which is the ultimate paradox. Like the ocean is there in all of its waves without exception. And then you don't even have to understand that. It's not even about understanding it intellectually. It's just this kind of something that you just sink into, you know. It's just
that's probably the pure bliss that Campbell talks about as well.
Yeah.
Follow your bliss, and of course the Satchitananda, the existence consciousness bliss that we are.
Yeah, and Joseph Campbell, you know, he did say, I watched an interview with him recently, he did say that, you know, this follow your bliss thing, he did kind of qualify it by saying, look, it's not always going to be bliss. If you're following your bliss, it's not always going to be bliss. There's going to be moments of doubt, or moments where you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Part of the journey.
And that's part of it. And he was, you know, that's really important to remember as well, that even those moments are part of it. You know, you have moments following your heart, following your bliss, following your path, whatever you want to call it. You are going to have moments, sometimes much more than moments, of like profound doubt. You know, am I on the right path? Has it all gone wrong? Do I have the capacity? You're going to doubt your own capacity.
Sure.
But just to remember that even those experiences are sacred. They're deeply as sacred as the experiences of joy and, you know, whatever.
That's the thing I practice with my the people I meet. I'm a non-dual coach and therapist, and the thing we always practice, and through a deep realization of everything is all right. Everything. It's not just the things we see as good or bad or whatever, but everything, every feeling, and go to that feeling. Go to the fear. Go to the doubt, the sadness. Let it be. Let it all be. And that's a great song as well.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well,
I believe that's to me that's the real meaning of non-duality. It's not everything is included. It's not non-duality as opposed to anything else, because then it would be dualistic. It's and this is why the place you can rest, I think, is in the paradox. I think the mind doesn't like paradoxes, because it's like, well, how can these two things that seem completely contradictory and opposite, how can they be true at the same time? You know, it's like either this one is true or that one is true. Either it's duality or it's non-duality, the absolute or the relative, the ocean or the waves. But of course, the real aliveness and the juice and the deep truth, I think, is found in that very alive place at the heart of the paradox. That it's all included. It's there, as you say so beautifully. It's even in the depths of the heartbreak. God, again, you use whatever, God, life, consciousness, awareness, non-duality, whatever. God has not even abandoned that place. No place is abandoned. Even the depths of hell, the depths of the heartbreak and the loneliness and the loss, even in the depths of the heart of that experience, there is the light is there. It has to be, because the light is you, and you are there. Yeah,
you are not forsaken, because
you are not forsaken.
Father is everywhere.
Yeah.
Or mother, or it, whatever you want to call it.
whatever. Yeah. I mean, and this is the point, I think, where language kind of breaks down at some point, you know. I mean, that's why I love like retreats, when everything just explodes into quiet or laughter.
Or laughter,
you know, or tears.
Well. That's release. Yeah, great.
Yeah, and then the words just don't matter so much anymore, you know. And there's a relief from that. There's a relief from trying to understand non-duality. Oh my God, there is a relief trying to understand what can never be understood. Because even that's what I came to discover, that even the non-understanding is beautiful. Even the non-understanding, even the confusion is sacred. You know, so you don't need to understand non-duality. No one needs to understand non-duality. And sometimes our understanding gets in the way. Our conceptual understanding actually gets in the way, because now I know. But and this is also why I love art. I love music, poetry.
That's pure
Yeah, it's
awareness.
pure, because in like, you know, really good poetry, when it's really written from that place of presence, it's not about the words, it's about the gaps between the words and the stillness and the silence, and then suddenly the poem just ends, and you're just left, and you feel so alive, and you don't quite know why. It kind of stops the mind and opens the heart, and you know, um
Well,
yeah.
the funny thing is, I write poetry as well. I don't didn't say it, but I wrote a poem, and this thing just came to me in the morning at 4 o'clock or something. I
Wow.
wasn't thinking. It was between dream and sleep, and it just came out of me, and well, it was perfect. I just had to work a bit on it to make it complete, but
Beautiful.
I think that's pure awareness. That's something that wants to happen, wants to be said, wants to be, and I think that's a beautiful experience
Beautiful.
to experience this.
Beautiful. And so you're going to read that poem out for us now, aren't you?
Well, I haven't
Yes, you
translated.
are.
I
Yes,
haven't
you are. I'm
translated
taking
it.
over the podcast.
No, I
This is
can't
a Jeff
recite
Foster
it.
podcast coming live from London, England, and we have a wonderful poet on the line. No, I'm joking. You don't
Great,
have.
yeah. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Beautiful. I mean, that's I resonate with what you're saying. That's how it always happened for me. I mean, I don't see myself as a writer. I don't see myself as a poet. I honestly, and that's not false humility. I really just genuinely don't. That's exactly, I really resonate with your experience. That's how it happened for me. These, you know, one day there's just these words started to flow out, and what I have learned over the years is just to trust. Just okay, just get them onto a page. Just allow it, you know. And then, yeah, but before you know it, you have a, you know, I have a poetry book out. I mean, is it poetry? What is it? I don't know. But you know, some people seem to, you know, resonate with it. Just like if you know, if you have you shared your
Yeah, I've put it on the Instagram, and
oh, beautiful.
I did some live versions of it as well on stage.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It was amazing, amazing reactions, people, and that's when you know it's not really mine. It's something from them as well. They resonate with the lyric, with the poem, and then you know, okay, this is something you wrote as well.
Yeah,
it's not only me, and that's a great experience.
It's beautiful
to be able to do that.
It's beautiful.
Well, I think.
What time is it?
Yeah, well, you were afraid we weren't going to talk past half an hour, but it's past the hour. So I think it's time to just
wow. I lost all track of time there. I think that's probably a good sign. Time disappeared.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you
The
so
world
much
disappeared.
for this
Thank you.
beautiful conversation and connection. Thank you.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Yeah, really enjoyed it. And it's lovely. Yeah, I feel that on some level we're kind of brothers in our experiences. We seem to have been on similar journeys and had similar experiences and come to a similar, well, I say understanding, or whatever the word is, knowing, understanding. You know, it's very beautiful. I love what you said about I love what you said about, you know, inviting people just to be with their feelings and open to their feelings, sadness, fear. I think that's so important, you know, because so few of us, when we were children, learned how to do that. So few of us had parents that helped us do that. So it's beautiful just to kind of learn that for the first time. It's, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always begin. So I think it's really beautiful.
And the thing is that if it really if everything is accepted, everything just disappears. That's the amazing thing. You just sit in silence, and there's no me and there's no them. So I really that's a bit of a rush, to be honest. might be a little bit addictive, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
If that's that's a nice kind of addiction. That's the good kind of addiction. You know, it's like that seeking energy kind of turns back in on itself. You know, it's no longer seeking for something outside of yourself, but kind of finding. It's like the seeking becomes finding what you were seeking much closer than you ever imagined it would be. You know, and
losing the seeker.
Yeah,
there's just finding.
Yeah, there's just finding, which I think is what we are. You know, I look at I look at Gwendolyn, our daughter, and she's just finding every moment. She's just finding. Life is just appearing magically in front of her, and she's just in that space of pure meditation, just curiosity and openness. And she's not yet dreaming of becoming enlightened, and she's not yet dreaming of being perfect.
Maybe we should do the next podcast cast with her.
Seriously, I think so. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, her language skills aren't. She can say agu. Well, that's probably
maybe that's it.
Yeah. That's probably would make more sense than after an hour of me talking. It's just agu. That's probably makes more sense than anything.
Yeah. Well,
agu is a sacred word that points back to the unspeakable.
Well, yeah, that's the thing you find in all languages as well. It's ta ta ta, that.
Yeah.
And that's what little children say when they first start to speak. So
it's true. Yeah. Can we call this podcast "Goo Goo Goo Goo"?
I will.
Goo.
Jeff says a goo goo goo.
That's brilliant. I'll go and tell Gwendolyn now. She'll be so happy. She'll be like, "Oh, finally, the adults are going to make sense." Oh my god.
We have the approval of Gwendolyn. Great.
Yes, the stamp of approval.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jeff, for this meeting, for this beautiful experience for me as well, and connection.
Thank you.
I really loved it. Thanks.
I loved it as well. I don't often love podcasts and interviews, but I genuinely enjoyed this.
Thank you so
much. Thank you so much.
That's great to hear. Well,
thank you so much,
Jeff. I'm just going to end it for the people that's watching and listening. Dank jullie wel allemaal voor het kijken. Dat was hem voor deze keer. Willen jullie meer weten over de retreats van Jeff? Kijk dan even in de show notes van deze podcast. Meer informatie over InZicht, het blad InZicht, vind je op inzicht.org. Daar vind je ook meer informatie over Jeff, zijn boeken en retreats, noem maar op. Vond je dit een mooie uitzending? Vergeet niet te liken en te volgen. Voor nu bedankt voor het kijken en luisteren en graag tot de volgende keer.